Hello everyone and welcome back to Star Citizen. So today I decided to make a quick video sharing with everyone some of my personal advice in regards to buying ships in Star Citizen. I decided to make this video because I still see a lot of people who are unsure about what they want to buy. Now, this video is going to be based on my own personal experiences, and rather than me just telling you what ships I think you should buy, I'm instead going to give you some general purchasing advice that you should be able to apply to almost any ship. And it will also hopefully help you avoid making some of the same mistakes I have, along with helping you find the right ship for you without paying too much for it, because while supporting Star Citizen's development by buying these ships is a good thing, a lot of people, myself included, still want to try and get the best value for money we can, and hopefully I can help you all with that. So over the course of Star Citizen's development, I myself have bought quite a few ships at different points in time, but I now only own 2 ships, not including a couple which I've bought as gifts for other people. The reason for that is because most of my old ships ended up getting melted for store credit when I realised they weren't exactly what I was looking for, or when something better came along. And that leads into my first piece of advice, which is that when you're looking to buy a ship, it's a good idea to set a price range. The reason behind this is because at the moment, most of the ships are generally bundled together in price brackets. For example, 2 of the more popular ships, the Hornets and the Freelancers, all cost between $125 and $155. This makes it so spending around that amount of money will naturally give you a lot more options that are available to you. But there is a downside to this system, because let's say you decided to spend big and you bought an Aegis Reclaimer for $350. But you then later on decided that you didn't want it anymore and you wanted to buy a different ship. Well, you can melt the Reclaimer and get all of your money back in store credit, but that's when you might run into a bit of a problem, which is having leftover credits, because unlike at the lower price points, like I said with the Hornets and Freelancers, where there are a lot of choices for the same amount of money, with the Reclaimer, there is only one ship which costs the same amount, which is the Anvil Karnak. What this means is if you don't want either of those ships, your only options are to either spend more money to upgrade to a higher tier ship, or settle for a cheaper ship and potentially have leftover credits that you might not be able to find anything to spend them on. Let me give you an example. Let's say I have a Constellation Andromeda, which costs $225, and I upgrade to a Constellation Aquila for an extra $50, but then, later on, I regret that upgrade and swap it back. Well, then I'll have a Constellation Andromeda again, and $50 in store credit. Now, unless there is something I want to buy, for example, another ship, then that credit might be stuck there for quite a while. You could attempt to use it in the Star Citizen black market, but that carries a lot of its own risk. So you can always upgrade easily enough, but downgrading isn't as simple. So plan out your purchases where you can, and try to keep within the price brackets, so you don't end up losing money if you change your mind later on about what ship you want, because you can always buy a cheap ship and upgrade it to a more expensive one later on by paying the difference in price. On to the second piece of advice, which is that when you're judging what ships to buy, don't focus too much on the stats and equipment of the ships. The reason for this is because all of those stats and equipment are subject to change, and some are even out of date. Take the Freelancer Max for example. When compared to the Constellation Taurus, both of which are transport ships at around the same price, the stats say that the Freelancer Max can only carry around 1/7 as much cargo as the Constellation Taurus. But taking a quick look at the ships, you'll realise that that is in fact impossible, because there's no physical way for the Taurus to carry 7 times more cargo than the Freelancer Max, because the ship itself is only around 2 to maybe 3 times bigger, so that 7 times more cargo capacity, it's just not going to happen. So what you should be focusing on is the role of the ship and what purpose will it serve, because that kind of information is pretty much set in stone. For example, some ships like the Idris did get a class size increase from a corvette into a frigate, but it's still going to fulfill the same role even if it's a larger ship. And I don't think many people who owned one were upset with that upgrade anyway. So if you're looking for, let's say, a mid-tier transport ship, then the Freelancer Max is likely going to be a great choice, even if the stats make it seem somewhat lackluster. This is because a lot of the ships still have to undergo balancing. Just pick a ship that suits your price range and planned playstyle, not what just looks good on paper. Because, like I said, the balancing is far from complete, and it's a bit of a coin flip, because the ship you buy could become better or worse as time passes. So don't set anything down in stone just yet. And on that note, we have my final piece of advice, which is a pretty simple one. Just because there isn't a ship around now that fills a particular role you're looking for, doesn't mean there won't be. New ships are being designed and going on sale somewhat regularly, and there isn't really any downside to just waiting and seeing if that perfect ship for you comes along. So if none of the ships have caught your eye, don't give up. And even if you can't afford the ship you want when it comes along, you'll be able to earn all of the ships in-game by playing. Paying for them is just to help fund the development of the game, but you don't have to do that. None of it is required. That's pretty much all the basic advice I have to give. Some of it might have seemed simple or obvious to some of you, but it can be very confusing to new people, and that's mainly what I try to make these buying videos for. So hopefully it was helpful to even the experienced users in some way, but regardless, as always, to everyone, thanks for watching. If you want to see more, don't forget to subscribe, and I hope you all have a good day.